The next panel session is a female-only session, as we are going to hear stories of success by successful women from Serbia who built their careers abroad using technology. My colleague Jelisaveta Lazarević, Head of Corporate Partnerships at AFA, is going to lead these panel discussions, and I will let her introduce these amazing women to you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Good evening and good morning to all of you from all around the world. As Valentina says, my name is Jelisaveta and I will moderate our next panel session addressing the topic of the only ways up, technology as an opportunity for women's leapfrog. And as we're actually speaking about this topic, technology and women, we can set this topic as an issue. Men are actually 33% more likely to have access to the internet than women. Women account for only 35% of STEM students in higher education, and only 20% of tech workers are female. However, I would like to set this topic today as an opportunity that can break down many of the barriers women are facing, opening up new economic opportunities, helping them to participate in the workforce and create the future in the age of automation. So it is with great pleasure having our tech ladies from all around the globe participating in this panel session. And I would like to just briefly introduce you. Thank you very much to be there today with us. Today with us are Maja Vujinović. She's founder of an investment and advisory firm, OGroup, and she was also Chief Innovation Officer at General Electric. Maja Strelar-Migotti, highly accomplished senior executive, and she was co-CEO of Marvel, head of Ericsson Silicon Valley. Ivana Cvejić, co-founder and CEO of Renhead and founder of Paul Andrew's International Awards. She was also head of recruiting in Morgan Stanley. Jelena Zdravković is professor and vice head of computer and system science at Stockholm University, and Ivana Ružičić, CEO at Smart New Frontier Group. Thank you very much, ladies. It's a really great pleasure having you all. And I would like to start this panel discussion with Maja Vujinović. Actually, as we have our first call, you mentioned that, for example, in General Electric, they had used AI more than 20 years ago. So from your perspective and experience, what are those new and emerging technologies that will change the world, and how this changed future will look like?
Thank you, first of all, for having me on. It's such a pleasure to be on this panel with incredible women from that part of the world. So I'm really honored. I think it's a broad question, right? It depends on area of industry and particular problems we're trying to solve, right? But in general, you have technologies that I've seen in the last, I'd say, good 15 plus years of my work experience, and you're going to start to see increased impact of quantum computing, AI, machine learning, right? Blockchain as well. And by having, I mean, just through my experience working in payments and in healthcare and across various industries at GE, I've seen tremendous amount of increase in speed, right? So as you mentioned, right, GE has used parts of artificial intelligence, right? Very small parts, as you know. It's very complex and even more convoluted than some other technologies. But I think if we look across the board, you have just seen this speed of innovation with these technologies and kind of the what I call a schizophrenic innovation, and depending on which country has a way to solve certain problems. So I think you're going to see impact in precision medicine, a variety of technologies that are going to impact that. You're going to see the obviously massive cloud innovation and technologies that impact that. As I said, quantum computing and particularly quantum chemistry, right, on impact of drug production. I'm going to see that. And a lot of these I have a hands-on experience of where we piloted across the board of various business industries and various customers. And then, of course, something that I've been deeply involved in, which is a combination of blockchain and AI, right? Particularly in Internet of Things and in devices on the edge, digital twins, payments, and simply programmable money, right? As we are going to see more and more.
Okay, great, Maya. Thank you very much. Actually, you mentioned speed of innovations, and for these dramatically changes, we will obviously need to have new skills. So I would now like to introduce Ivana Cvejić. She's actually an expert of our main topic, considering the fact that she has co-founded the firm specializing in talent and workforce management solutions. So also during this Women Leadership Summit, we had the opportunity to hear that between 40 and 160 million women globally will need to make some transition between occupation in order to stay relevant workforce. So actually, I would like to hear your thoughts. What are those skills for the future, especially women, will need to have in order to stay relevant workforce for 21st century? Sorry, you're still mute. Please, can you unmute yourself?
There we go.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here. Yeah, I think that when we look at the skill sets that workers will need, you know, Maya had brought up very good points in terms of the emerging technology, and those will give you a lot of clues in terms of, you know, what skill sets we'll have to learn from scratch, what types of roles will change and evolve, and which roles will be eliminated. So our particular area of expertise is in administration. So our tool actually automates a lot of the manual tasks around recruiting, as well as vendor management. And administration is one area where there are so many women. We're very good at administration. We've gravitated towards administration. And so it's important to look at that as a whole. And it's within all sectors, obviously. And so when you look at, you know, if you're an administrator today and the manual tasks that you do today, you could basically assume that in 2030, those tasks will be done by some type of automation, software or machine, et cetera. And so what does that mean for administrators today? You know, does that mean that those jobs will be eliminated? No, I don't think so. But if you look at what will happen with the data that is being automatically collected. You know, Amazon just announced last week, their new health link. This is going to be automating a lot of the big data collection and patient records for the healthcare industry. This is a great example. So what is going to happen with that data once it's collected? So we're eliminating the manual tasks, but we still need a lot of very smart women, hopefully, to analyze that data and to transfer that data into a consumable and communicable way. And we need to communicate that into, you know, a lot of different areas. So that those communication skills, the analytical skills, skills around metrics, how to analyze those metrics are going to be very important within administration. And I think that women naturally have a lot of ability in analyzing and breaking things down into items that are digestible. So this is a really good area, I think, to focus on and really pay attention to. The other area I would say in management, you know, we are in a space now where women are getting more and more into management and leadership roles, which is very exciting. But if we want to keep up, we're going to have to really keep up with what is management going to look like in 2030. It's not going to be, you know, running a P&L and, you know, doing performance reviews anymore. Today, we already have a shortage of managers who know how to manage workers online, which is a very difficult task for some people. We already have a shortage of people who know how to manage a blended workforce. And in today's terms, that means, you know, part employees and part contingent workers. Well, that will expand even further in 2030. So imagine having 100 employees, 100 contingent workers, and 100 machines. And now you have to really be creative and how to blend those three together to get the utmost amount of output for your company, depending on the tasks that you're responsible for. And so that analyzing again, you know, those components, breaking them down and understanding how those all can work together. But also that communication, it really comes down to that communication and leadership that I think will be really prevalent in 2030. Understanding how to communicate with, you know, potentially 5 different employees in 5 different countries doing different tasks. How do you bring all those together and communicate in an empathetic and leadership type of way? And so one of the main things I want to take away for all of you here is the one thing that's limiting us today as women, because I think we're naturally already good at those things. One thing that's really limiting is our presentation skills. And so if you continue to really hone in on those presentation skills, understanding audiences, different audiences, how do you talk to an investor versus, consumer, those are all really important skills, I think, that will be continuously needed in all sectors.
Okay, Ivana, great. Thank you very much. And we have the opportunity to now hear from you what skills we need to have in order to stay competitive at our workplace. And I would also like to speak about skills and opportunities for us as women to create our own businesses. And there I will come to Vujinović. As someone who was head of Ericsson Silicon Valley, you had the opportunity to actually be part of one of the best in the world tech entrepreneurial ecosystems. So what are the opportunities for women in tech entrepreneurship, and how they can actually use those opportunities to make this leapfrog we're speaking about?
Hello, and thank you very much for having me. And we also have to be in this very gloomy world with pandemic, we have to be very grateful that we have a technology that connects us souls, enable us learning, and this conference, for example. So I came to Silicon Valley in 2009. I was sent to put 2 acquisitions that Ericsson had into Ericsson. And when I was looking there, the both companies were like a little bit older startups. And I started thinking, okay, I'm coming from a company that's 140 years old, and we have been very adaptable and innovative to survive so many years, because there are not many technology companies that survive for 140 years. Very, very, very few. And I tried to figure out what is there happening in the Silicon Valley that made this Silicon Valley cradle of innovation. And actually my conclusion was, it's money. The way how VC can give money, and all that money that exists in Silicon Valley then attracts the best talent from the world. And I also believe that if you put that amount of money and the process, how to get the money when you have your idea, if you put it anywhere in the world, you will attract talent from all over the world. And so let's go to the women. To be honest, it's far less female entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley and far less VCs that are female, like maybe 5%. So that means there is a quite big misunderstanding between the women and those that assign money. And I have been looking, when I wanted to start investing, I went to different angel clubs to see how I fit. And then I decided to join Golden Seeds, which is an angel investment VC. Why? Because that VC is giving money to female entrepreneurs. So female has to be CFO, CTO, or have a 5% of the company, or, significant role. Why I have taken that particular VC? Because I liked the way how women use the technology. They see the problem in the world, they take technology and create solution. So it doesn't matter if it was education, or it was just way of living, or it was like even some, in the media and so on. And so I always said, when you invest in a startup, it's 10-1 that you are going to win. So I said, if you lose your money, better to lose it with a heart. So I invested in the medical companies, in companies that are focused on female health, and so on. So I really tried to do from my side the best what I could to make women become much more entrepreneurs. We women have to change the way how we see the world. We should not be afraid of being wrong. We should not be afraid, because when you go and start your own company or join a startup, it's actually standing on the cliff, and it's very easy just to go off the cliff further down. So the daring part is extremely important for women to make a leapfrog. Today's technology does not require women entrepreneur to be a coder or engineer, and you don't have to be that, because the technology is moving so fast, and you can always find engineers and coders that will code your idea and make it successful. So what women have to do, in a different part of the world, there are different rules. And different social dynamics, because if you look Silicon Valley, I would say the social dynamic, the gender dynamic is not so healthy. In some other countries, maybe in Europe, it is easier. So the most important always is to dare, be daring, go for it, and secure the money, and your idea can be within.
Great, Maya, thank you very much. One more time, we have here that actually technology are moving very fast. So I would like to ask the next question, Jelena Zdravković. Actually, this technology revolution is giving us better opportunity to make leapfrog toward the developed world. We can connect, communicate, get information easily. And it seems like the only things we need to have in order to be successful are advanced knowledge and skills. Therefore, I would like to ask you how education could be improved to make technology fields more welcoming for girls and women.
Everyone, thank you very much for inviting me. And now, since we are supposed to speak in English and not really Serbian, let me answer to your question. First of all, I believe that any education should be equally welcoming both genders. And further, we have this, say, situation or the rather fact that that individuals prefer to choose something over something, independently if we are talking about boys or girls. And furthermore, if we focus to computer and data sciences, information technologies, all those technical sciences, we do observe that there is some lack of involvement of girls, but yet even thinking that this is some fact, this is different in different countries. I'm currently working and living in Sweden, and there what I have observed over the years is that in technology oriented education or technology having heavy education, it is typically more boys applying, while when this technology oriented perspective is enriched with the social perspective, then we see more girls. And as for some numbers, in Stockholm, we have Royal Technology Institute, which is having like maximum 10% of girls on their programs, while Stockholm University is proud to say to have 43%. So one answer is what should we do in regard to education is to enrich technical education with social perspective. And that is also one reason why we think in Sweden that on the programs on industrial management, girls are more keen to come than on the programs where you have core information technology. Another answer to you is, or another by perspective to this question is that we need to do pilot studies with both boys and girls, what they expect from education, what kind of concepts and practices they would like to learn about. And that we need to do on faculties. So those could be, you can call them pilot studies, feasibility studies, to show what theories and what practices are more interesting for which gender or which individuals. And then we need to boil it down back to gymnasium and even kindergarten and say to and try to show to both genders how tech is cool, how tech is interesting, and how tech is for everyone. So it is important also to start dealing with this in early stage of development, meaning starting from the child perspective. And I'm very happy to hear that your organization is having some projects that are including girls to develop some prototype and some simple robots. I think that's amazing. That's the way to go.
Thank you, Jelena, very much. Actually, during today and during this Women Leadership Summit, we also have a hackathon, Girls Hack for Girls, and it was really interesting. So thank you very much. I would now like to also introduce Ivana Ružičić, and because she's actually working in one company based in Serbia, I would like to ask you, what are actually technology jobs where women are performing better than men, and are those jobs actually important for future development based on technologies?
I am happy to be here with you today.
We can't hear you, Ivana, sorry. No. You're not muted, actually.
I don't know what's the problem.
Just a weak sound, Ivana. Extremely weak.
Yeah. No, we can't hear you. Maybe you can, yeah, try.
Try like this. Do you
Yeah.
hear now better?
A little better?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I think nowadays we are all aware of the fact that technology jobs are not just for men. But although women are playing a prominent role in this field today, they still remain in a minority. Getting women in technology jobs will lead to innovation that reflects the needs of both the men and the women. Beside the software developer job in which women have already shown how successful, extremely creative and dynamic they are, in which they are changing the world and the future of technology development. There are many other jobs in this field that women can give different perspective with their qualities. Women give excellent results in positions that require multitasking, good communication skills, and analytical approach, like project manager or business analyst. Their persistence and attention to details make women suitable candidates for the position of software tester. Software testing is important because it provides an objective, independent view of the software, and in this way allows the business to appreciate and to understand the risk of software implementation. And certainly, if we want to live the future without bugs, we definitely need good software testers. All the jobs that refer to visual design, like graphic design, user interface design, communication design, and visual communication, everything that includes the aesthetic or look and feel of the front end of any user interface, are also areas in which women can contribute greatly. Another interesting challenge for women might be user experience designer, a technology job which is quite popular, and it's certainly something that will help make our lives much easier in the future. User experience design is the process of supporting user behavior through usability provided in the interaction with a product. It helps us identify in which ways a product can be used by a specific user or group to achieve specified goals with efficiency and satisfaction. in some specified context of use, actually.
Okay. And when we actually thank you, Ivana, very much for this perspective. And when we speak about the skills, I'm back again to Ivana Cvejić. And previously you were the head of recruiting in Morgan Stanley. And we are all aware that finance sector is transforming rapidly, but not only the finance, the other sectors as well. And in your own opinion and actually experience, what the future of work in those sectors will look like, for example, in finance, in retail, and so on?
Yeah, finance is actually a very interesting sector. Obviously, they're at the head of this global transformation. You know, they're investing in emerging technologies. They're very forward with things like, you know, fintech, cryptocurrency, et cetera, and very backwards in administration. So there's a little bit of a dichotomy there. Finance, I think that the quantitative modeling, which also requires, you know, programming skills, will continue to evolve. Obviously, there will be a lot more AI involved in those quantitative modeling skill sets, but we still, as we saw in administration as well, and anything that has to do with data, we still need analysts to analyze the data, to reconfigure the models as the economy, you know, changes, et cetera, and to communicate those models as well. One space that I think has been interesting in private wealth management, but not as much on the institutional side, is digital media. I think there will be a bigger push in digital media in that space on the institutional side. And, you know, we see things like cryptocurrency. So these are already, you know, driving a lot of wealth management conversations. So wealth management in general is changing. And I wanted to touch on that a little bit because Migotti made a couple points there on, you know, controlling our wealth, and made a comment about VC money. So the VCs we know are only giving roughly 2% of VC money going to women founders. I'm a woman founder. I did not go VC route. And the reason I didn't have to, and didn't, for many reasons, didn't want to, is because I actually wanted control over my company. And so what I did was I educated myself on financial tools. There's so many financial tools out there accessible for free to educate yourself on different vehicles, you know, stocks, you know, how to invest. There are online trading tools. So for me, it was really important to really have control over my wealth management plan. I had help, of course, I didn't do it all alone, but it gave me a lot of options. And so when you look at what will the workforce look like in 2030, what skills will we need, it is absolutely important to have a nest egg and full control over your finances, in my opinion, in case you want to take a step back and completely retrain yourself in doing something else, or, you know, you need a little bit of a nest egg if you want to start your own company. These things are really encouraging. They give you a lot of power and control and a lot of options. And so I wanted to put that out there for the audience.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And again, Ivana, Ružičić, what do you think? What opportunities technologies are giving to women who are actually not in tech fields? How they can make this leapfrog? We can't hear you again. You're mute.
Sorry. The development of technology will lead to the situation in which half of the jobs that people are currently engaged in will not even exist in 15 years' time. So it's necessary to turn to new technologies. And this is not just a question of desire, but the fact that the world is moving in that direction. The latest life circumstances caused by this year's global coronavirus pandemic have further strengthened the importance of technology. The presence of technological innovations such as artificial intelligence, big data, virtual reality, and blockchains means that women, whether they have their own business or work in industry, will need a certain level of comfort around technology. To be ready to welcome all these women who work in industry and economy must be agile and adopt some technical skills, or to be informed that what are the possibilities of new technological solutions that could help in their business or production. They at least need to be able to understand the potential impact of new technologies on their industry, business, and the job. At the most basic level, they need to know how to access data and determine how to act on it. Learning and education is a permanent category that plays a key role in our further development and progress. Digital resources should be used in education, but also for business development and digital promotion. Women who have their own business need to think not just about technology, but also about the digital transformation of their business.
And that is actually, Ivana, that is the great introduction. Thank you very much for mentioning this word as well. That is the great introduction for Maja Vujinović now, because I can say actually that the most used words during this Women Leadership Summit, during this whole year when everything went digital, are digital transformations, skills, knowledge, and so on. So could you now tell us what is actually sustainable digital transformation and how important it is to integrate women in the future development of technologies?
I mean, look, COVID only emphasized more the need for us rethinking a lot of things, but also just the speed of innovation and digital integration. And I've been doing so-called digital transformation for a very long time in payments. I started in Africa and Latin America in 2005, doing payments and payment railways, and then got into crypto in 2009. But I think it's important. Of course, it's important. I'm not sure that that's really a question. It is very important. I think Ivana brought up a really good point earlier, which I constantly see around algorithms, and there are two things around algorithms that I've had exposure in that are posing quite a challenging problem for us to do. If you don't have a lot of women coders that influence with their behavior, their energy, their way of thinking, right? You're designing algorithms by default that are skewed. We also need to look at how algorithms, we can design the processes to really take out the biases out of these algorithms and constantly, as Ivana talked about earlier, reimagine them, re-question them, reposition them, right, based on results. There's nothing intelligent about these things currently, right? There's artificial intelligence, but there's nothing intelligent. It requires a lot of human input, a constant human questioning and reassessment. There's another aspect of algorithms that is really important to consider, which is interoperability of algorithms, and not just in AI, but in blockchains as well, right? And again, blockchains is used in such a terrible way right now. It's a sexy term, but really they're very expensive. They're very inefficient, right? And there are only 2-3 use cases where they really work. However, though, in the future, that might not be the case, and we will need systems that interoperate. And so when we talk about digital transformation, there are a lot of nuances, right? Digital transformation could mean that we just go from paper into the digital, right? From invoices, simple invoices, to the payment operating system in your company, to maybe providing digital education for your workforce and upskilling them, right? But also there's another part of digital transformation that we don't consider most of the time, and it hasn't become a large part of boardroom discussions. It is slowly, but it hasn't completely, which is the result of digital transformation means more usage of water and electricity. And that has a massive footprint in the environment that we don't consider per se, because most of the time when we are looking at this, and when I've been tasked and even running a company in Asia that is in digital currencies, it's most of the questions are about operating costs. They're not about sustainability, and where does the sustainability of environment and maybe upskilling versus hiring new people and the cost of that and the benefit of that. And there needs to be a lot bigger holistic approach to this. And I think there is. You're seeing Amazon and Google, for example, invest an enormous amount of renewable resources, right? Because they need that in order to operate all the cloud services, in order to operate all the data centers, right? So I think I do believe that most folks are looking currently in silos, and unfortunately are hiring people that are, quote, experts in their lanes. But really the broader questions of taking all in consideration when it comes to digital transformation is a much larger game. And I think some of the successful companies that are doing that are not afraid to kind of go broader in their discussion and then go narrower in an execution. And sometimes even taking a 2-step back in order to take 3 forward, right? So it depends what we're looking at, right? And some countries will have obviously much further digital transformation, and some will be lagging. Also, technology is sometimes not an issue. It's mostly regulatory, right? So for example, if you look at privacy, if you look at healthcare, that is so centralized. We have technological tools to solve a lot of this, but it's been regulation has also been a large part of that lagging. And I think legislation and regulation are going to start to play a lot larger role in digital transformation going forward.
Okay, Maya, great. Thank you. Thank you really much for this very great and inspiring answer. And I will also like to ask Maya Strelar-Migotti, as someone who was an executive in some of the most famous worldwide companies. Can you also specify how important gender diversity is for future development based on technologies?
Myself.
Yeah.
Someone muted. Okay, so first, if you are a woman graduating some engineering school today, for example, in US, you will not have any problem to find a job. Many companies have put gender programs in place, and so many studies that have been done, how more productive diverse teams are, and how many patents they can produce, and so on. It was very hard to measure that would a gender diverse team produce better results than just like one gender team. And there are so many studies that came out that show that gender diversity is extremely important. And gender diversity is important not only in a team network, it's also in boardroom. There are so many programs now in the company leadership team and so on that have shown that companies that put a focus on gender diversity actually have much better results and perform better on the stock market, profitability, and so on. Gender diverse team produce more patents and so on. So, but the question here, what Jelena was in Sweden, I lived in Sweden for 15 years. It's a very, if you would point where is really equality between the sexes, I would say Sweden is one of the top countries in the world. And still they don't have enough female engineers or technology educated females entering the job market. And the same is all over the world. So the companies are trying to resolve that, putting different programs. We want to have so many women engineers or leaders and so on. So one example is a couple years ago, Intel decided when they got one of the new CEOs that they will have X number of female managers, X number of female employees and so on. And they really did succeed, but they pulled the workforce from other companies. So if we don't get our girls to take more STEM education, and I think that is great, Jelena, Jelisaveta, what you are doing in Serbia. When you have programs in place, when you go probably from elementary school to high school, then you will have enough interest in in girls to actually choose STEM education and go forward. Gender diversity is extremely important for many, many reasons, because if we will have technology today goes to every industry. If we will have only men that will develop the products, they will fit only men. And I have many examples what happened when AI is programmed only or done only by men, how these programs actually discriminate women going forward, not only in selecting them for new jobs, but also, you know, creating the products that are more alike from men's side.
Okay, great, Maya. Thank you very much. And the last question for Jelena. We have actually only 2 minutes left, but I think this question is also very important because how this balance is actually important in creating more ethic and human future, tailored for the needs of all of us. Maya actually mentioned a lot of things, but I would also like you to mention things from academia point of view.
Okay. First, I fully support Maya's view on the need for diversity, and I will try to reinforce it from the academic perspective, namely, whenever you are modeling or developing a research artifact which is non-trivial, it is a novel thing that you need to look at it from several perspectives, that you need to model it, to develop it from several perspectives. Otherwise, it's not a complete artifact. And obtaining perspectives you can if you include as much as diversity as possible, meaning both genders in this context. Another thing which is also widely known in requirements engineering discipline is that you try to develop a core functionality, but then comes quality aspects of that functionality, which actually makes a service or product competitive. And that leads me to answer more concretely to your question. If we think about a cyber physical object that we are developing, maybe one group of developers will focus on functional aspects and they will enable it to work, but that's not enough in today's market and arena. You need to add qualitative aspects that will distinguish that product or service from others. And there come another gender group or another group of developers who will think about ethical aspects of that cyber physical object, what it needs to fulfill. We'll think how that object can, in a better way, interact with humans. We'll think about playfulness, about aesthetics, about convenience of that product. Those are all quality aspects. And without them, there is no win. Core functionality is not sufficient.
Okay, great. Thank you a lot, ladies. It was really interesting and amazing speaking with you. We are all at AFA looking forward to the next opportunities to cooperate and addressing such an important topic. So thank you very much for participating. It was really my pleasure.